So you're probably going like, is this Copper Cactus DIY or what? But actually, this table started out with a way normal life. I went to the thrift store, bought it, and brought it home. She went through an early makeover, then a post-adolescent beige phase, and in today's video, I'm taking part in the Clueless Unique Antique Challenge hosted by Crystal at the Crafty Creech and Mara at Borderline Furniture RX. So I'm gonna lean hard into Cher's main thrill in life and give this table a proper makeover. Will she be a total Betty? Let's get into the studio to find out. What's up, peeps? Welcome back to my channel. I'm Jen, and you've made it over to Copper Cactus DIY, where I share furniture art, faux finishing, and decorative painting. I did all necessary prep steps from cleaning with warm soapy water to wiping it down after with a clean rag. I also dried the piece to speed things up for my next step. Speaking of, I opened windows in the studio too, because I really don't want to strip down this entire piece. I'm going to try this liquid sandpaper again. This will be a really good test to see how this stuff holds up, because if I want to do anything with removing this paint, I have to go all the way back down to the wood, because I did shellac over that so that I wouldn't have any paint going into wood grain. That way I could paint this when I was staging my house back when we were selling our place in Phoenix. But this beige thing is so last season. I first tried liquid sandpaper on my guest room nightstand a couple months ago, and so far it's holding up pretty good. This table is used daily, not just sporadically, so I need to ensure a good final finish, because nobody, least of all me, wants a full-on Monet in their house. I never scuffed the top shellac layer, so it could turn into a big ol' mess, but whatever. While the liquid sandpaper dried, I went on the hunt for inspiring photos from the movie, and I decided that this piece needed a really good pattern. Unfortunately, searching for a pattern other than plaid in this movie seemed as useless as searching for a still functioning blockbuster video. That is until Cher's most responsible looking outfit. Black, white, gray, and I believe a hint of red in an argyle pattern. Perfect for my front entry table. But then I remembered all the math involved with diamonds, and I took the night off to gather my strength. So after I finished that liquid sandpaper last night, I was just beat and I didn't want to be on camera anymore, but I knew I had to do some math because argyle, let me tell you how fun argyle is of a pattern. It's lots of math and science, and I did all my measuring, so you can see these measurements here on the screen. I had 69 3/4 inches around by about 2.5 inches high. It's actually like one tick less than 2.5 and like 2 or 3 ticks more than 69 3/4, so I'm just calling this 2.5 by 70. And in order to get the diamonds correctly, I had to do a little bit more math because with argyle, you want to make sure that the height is a larger number than the width so that those diamonds don't look just like squares on their side. I figured out that if I do 1.5 inches roughly on all of these diamonds, I should get about 46 total around. There may or may not be a little tick here or there that's bigger or smaller. I will add any of that onto the diamonds that are in the back. You're never going to see them. They'll be up against the wall. And even if they weren't up against the wall, it'll be hopefully barely perceptible to like the human eye that that's happening. But I'm just going to get with doing all of the measuring and marking off for the center part of these diamonds. And bring you back in and show you what that looks like all around, because I'm probably going... I don't know for sure, but because I obviously haven't done any of this measuring yet, but I'm probably going to cut my own stencil for this. That's going to make things a whole heck of a lot easier to line up. If I had done 1.5 inches, it would be 1.5 to here. When I came around then from this side coming in, that was going to be a 1.5 tick mark for something and then, or for here, and then this was going to be too big. So I just split the difference. And as you can see, that was like 1/32. I'm going to live with that. That is fully cool as far as I'm concerned. These two diamonds will look slightly bigger, but I really just don't see you even being able to tell. I know I have to do all of this tick mark work again once I paint, but I really wanted to just make sure that my math was mathing before I did actually paint. And when I come back around to do these tick marks the second time, it's going to be after I cut my stencil. So I won't even actually have to tick. I'm just going to have my diamond shape cut out and like basically ready to go. So yeah, I'm getting on painting now. Almost time for paint, but much like Cher's report card, it isn't ready yet. I used DAP plastic wood and a squeegee that's kind of flexible so that I could easily go over these more rounded surfaces. This stuff spread out eventually, but I won't lie, it took some work because, as you can tell, it didn't start out pink, which means the product is already semi-dried out. Way harsh. Once it dried in place though, I sanded it with a fine grit rad pad, wiped it down, vacuumed it up, and then I could finally get to paint. Then I was literally an idiot because I did all that too. Kind of forgot to put the camera up. Yes, sorry. I'm gonna let this dry for about 2 or so hours and then I will come back and do the second coat, but I'm not gonna do that on camera. Much like the first coat on the top here. Tell me you were so hungry that you wanted to finish fast without telling me you were so hungry you wanted to finish fast. I missed entire sections. Also, I completely forgot. I did not want to tape off these columns. I want these to be black too. And the only thing I was going to do like really different color-wise was going to be where the argyle goes. So I'm going to peel that tape, paint all that stuff, fix all this, but I'm doing all of that off camera. And like I said, coat 2 of all of that then also off camera. So I will see you in the morning for me, 2 YouTube seconds for you. After everything had a chance to dry overnight, I added a protection coat to all the black painted parts. That way, if I inevitably fling or drop paint on it, I should be able to wipe that off immediately without any damage to the paint. Then I left this to dry for about an hour and I went to cut my stencil. It took me about 18 minutes to finalize everything for my stencil. I made sure to measure multiple times before cutting anything. Once I had the full plastic sheet tacked down to my cutting mat, I used an X-Acto blade to cut this thin plastic. After a blade change, it actually cut to height with no problems. Then I used that piece to create the 2 separate pieces that I'll need. First, I basically cut myself a ruler. It's rectangular and it measures at the full height and width of what my diamonds would be if the corners were there. I'll use that to line everything up perfectly plumb around the curves. Then I cut my diamond shape. Well, half of one. I'm using a raw edge and an open stencil like this because I want to make sure my shape reaches to the very top and bottom of the area on the piece. I actually filmed this entire process of me cutting in real time with comments, so would any of you peeps be interested in a detailed video like that? If you are, just leave me a comment and let me know because I would be totally willing to share this entire process. With the stencil ready, it was time to pull tape. What's up, peeps? Thanks for letting me interrupt this video for 1 minute. I just wanted to come at you with an announcement. I am hosting my very first furniture flipping challenge. It's called Beach Please, or it's called Beach Please. Either way you interpret that, it is my brand new furniture flipping challenge. I'm so excited to do this and host this one and pick a winner. This goes live on August 30th, 2025, and you can get detailed information on the graphic that's up on the screen, or you can come over and follow me on Instagram. It's at Copper Cactus DIY, all one word, and look for my top pinned post. All of the detail of this challenge is there because I'm really looking forward to seeing all of your beachy goodness. Like I said, go get that detailed information right after you finish watching this video. Thanks, peeps! I used the clean edge of the tape to mask off at the columns and around the top edge. I applied the first coat of a light gray acrylic that I custom mixed up, and I did a second coat, but I did that later off camera. Then I could finally start my stenciling. Luckily, I had a faintly visible plumb line from where the veneer matches up in the front. It also centered on the front leg, so I lined that up to be the center of my first diamond. Using the ruler stencil, I lined up the half diamond and I traced it with a pencil. Then I flipped the stencil horizontal, lined up the top and bottom points, and I repeated drawing the lines so that I could complete my first diamond shape. Then I lined up the wide points and hauled ass around this table with my stencils to create the other 44 diamonds. After I finished this, I was totally buggin'. As an older faux finisher, I hope you'll allow me to give you a little bit of advice. I just want to point out that an argyle pattern isn't a beginner level finish. A finish like this requires a tremendously steady hand, patience, and a willingness to clean up alternating colors near ad infinitum. I mean, at least if you're me. Most of the time, I would just tape off everything, but we'll get to that part of my debacle soon. Actually, let's talk about that right now. Normally, I'd tape off every other shape, paint 2 coats, pull tape, then paint the alternating diamond once the first one was dry, but I was super low on delicate tape, so I tried something different here. I created a tape stencil based on the first diamond shape. At first, this actually worked awesome, of course, because frog tape rocks, but once that edge is compromised, the limit is pretty much reached for bleed-free lines. It also pulled apart a little bit on the top point area, but it worked for a while, so I used it as long as I could out in front, then I moved to the back once it started to get sloppy.
So
I fully intended to finish this tonight, but it is already 6:30. I've been working on these diamonds since about, oh my gosh, I don't even know, maybe 1 o'clock this afternoon. It might have even been a little earlier than that, getting the stencil and like all of that. So I'm pretty much done. And I'm going to come back to this and finish it. I won't show you any more of this part. I'm going to do the rest of these, everything connected, and then I'll do a second coat on all of this. And I might bring you in to show you how I'm doing the cleanup, but then that would be the only thing left, would be doing the little pinstripe in the middle. Before I could add the final flourishes though, I had to clean up my super janky bleed under mishap. Then I totally flaked and brushed right over the dark gray with the light gray. So I cleaned that color up too. In order to do the Argyle, it means that I need to come back through what would be a section of 4 shapes with another diamond shape, but an open diamond shape this time. So it will come from the middle of these background sections. The points will come into about the middle of this diamond and about the middle of this, and then it comes back up into a point here and here. I'm pretty much just going to let you watch me do this in high speed all the way around the entire thing, but I figured I would at least let you see the first one in regular time. And I'm using that same stencil that I used for the diamonds. That way I know for sure everything's going to line up correctly. I want these to line up at least as evenly as possible with what I've already established. And I'm using these acrylic markers. I just got these recently. They have 2 sides. There's a brush tip that's more like an artsy situation. And then there's the fine tip side, which is what I'll be using here. You can see my stencil already has some red on it. I tested this out in the back just to make sure it would look good, and it does. Nothing about this finish is fast. In fact, it took me over the course of 2 days to do all the red diamonds. I struggled with how thin the stencil plastic was and my paint pen scooting all willy-nilly in my shaky middle-aged hands. Not to mention that filming means I have to do things at angles which ensure that I'll paint outside the lines. It was causing me to feel entirely icky. So instead of totally hating the experience, I came back in the morning after I'd mellowed. And I had a sudden epiphany overnight. If I mark the exact center of each gray diamond, I'd be able to line up the stencil going all in one direction, then all in the other. That way I wouldn't have to wait for dry time of lines. Like, duh. That didn't stop me from making bleed under mistakes that I had to clean up off camera, but it did totally revive me to finish strong. I did that and then I let it dry overnight. I cut press and seal to place over the finish while I painted the feet and did some touch-ups, as if I'd try to mess it up now. Like most of Cher's outfits, I need to add some sparkle to the stems or feet of this piece. In the outfit that I'm using as my inspo, she wears silver patent leather heels, so I used a bright silver acrylic over the black chalkboard paint. Wait until you see the beauty shots to see how this dried down. It's awesome. Because I'm just that person, I had to clean up the underside edge with some black paint. I did a few minor other touch-ups with the black paint as well, and then I left it to dry overnight. Then all I had left to do in the morning was top coat. To protect the Argyle but not risk pulling that red through my fresh touch-ups, I'm using a spray-on polycrylic from Minwax in a clear matte finish. I did 2 coats, waiting about 30 minutes in between each, then I left it to dry for 24 hours per the recommendation on the can. After some touch-ups, I added another coat of Varathane satin to the black surfaces, and while I apply this final top coat, I want to say, thanks for watching today. If you're not subscribed, you can do that, thumbs up, and share this video all for free. Any and all of that helps my channel to grow. If you are already subscribed, thanks so much for being here. I appreciate all of your support, peeps. Thanks again also to Crystal and Mara for hosting this super fun challenge. I loved this one and had fun stretching my limits. Before and after makeover shots are coming up next, so stick around. But that's all I've got for work to share today, so I'm outie.